What's up? How you doing? I am David Long, and as you can probably read in the description of this video, I am quitting Integral. I am disassociating myself with the brand and the community. I have been in the Integral community for over a decade. I'm sure probably a lot of people are going to be glad to hear that I'm quitting and I'm leaving it behind. I'm obviously still going to make videos. I'm still going to be talking about philosophy. I still care about all the same projects. None of that changed. I'm not quitting any of that stuff. I'm just not going to be associating myself with Integral or the Integral community anymore. A lot of people have come and gone before me. It's not a choice that I make lightly. It's obviously something I've been thinking about for a long time. I've introduced tens of thousands of people to Integral over the years. I've taught integral theory on the internet and privately, and I've been a huge supporter and integral enthusiast for a very long time. I'm not exactly sure what I want to say here. I just kind of wanted to share where I'm coming from with this and air out these concerns a little bit and tell you what I'm thinking and where I'm at with this. Yeah, well, we're going to talk about what's next. But first, I want to kind of talk about how I came to this conclusion, and then I'll try and tell you about what's next. So I was talking to Hansi not that long ago, or Daniel Gortz, and one of the things that he was telling me is that Integral is a poison chalice. That's what he said. That was the words he used. And he was arguing to me that the brand and the whole project is just, it's too messed up to salvage. I've been in this community for a while trying to figure out how to make it more healthy, trying to work with it, trying to upgrade the theory, trying to fix it, trying to make it better. And I've just been fighting an uphill battle pretty much since the beginning. Like one of my first videos, probably my first long form video, was called Integral Integrity, which was about Steve McIntosh and how basically this dude is out here claiming to be an integral leader and his ideas aren't even compatible with integral theory. Just about every integral group that you can find is integral in name alone. None of these groups have any standards. There's no integration process. There's no leadership. They're basically green groups where anybody can come and say anything they want and nobody is working on doing anything. It's just like a bunch of self-righteous people patting themselves on the back for how smart and mature they are while they do nothing. Or maybe they do something in their personal life associated with Integral. You know, they have their own personal Integral projects. But the Integral community itself is doing nothing and has been doing nothing. There have been so many people who have come through the Integral community, been super excited about what it could do, and then been super annoyed and just given up and left it behind because it's doing nothing. Because the Integral brand at this point, Integral Life, is just like a self-help company trying to sell you talks where Ken Wilber re-explains spiral dynamics over and over again. But these groups, they have no integral integrity. In fact, Ken Wilber has pretty much messed up his project from the beginning by not having a healthy integration, by corrupting his entire map with an Eastern idealistic perspective. It has literally seeped in and ruined every single element of the map. I've tried to recreate the map and make a better version of it. Everyone knows, who knows me, that I really care about the Integral project and what these integral ideas can do for the world. Still do. Haven't given up on that. Basically, I'm just giving up on the brand and the community because this community doesn't care. Of course, there are a bunch of good people in this community. You know, don't get me wrong. When I first joined this community years and years ago, it did feel like coming home to me. I'm a huge fan of Joseph Campbell, and the pre-trans distinction to me was like it made a potential for a safe space where we could actually discuss religious poetry and religious ideas, spiritual ideas, divorced from superstition. But that's not the case in these communities. These groups, like I said, they have no standards or leadership in terms of who's allowed in or what the ideas are. If you go into any of these spaces, the level of communication is basically like blue arguing with orange. And blue, as we know, is pre-rational, and they don't want to have a real conversation. They don't want to philosophize about these topics. A lot of these people don't even know integral theory. So these groups are integral in name alone. And because there's no good leadership and there's no good standards, all the people who are really into integral and have a good worldview Just get tired and leave, like I'm doing. I'm not the first person. There are people, the great people ahead of me. Julian Mark Walker basically gave up on this community. Now he's doing the Conspirituality podcast, super successful with that, doing well. That's just now taken off, and like he's doing great with it. Big up to Julian. Frank Visser tried to help this community. They just demonized him and ignored him and never dealt with his points and just called him names. The two biggest things that this community says to dismiss me is that I'm orange, that I commit pre-trans fallacy number one, that I'm a materialistic reductionist who doesn't like spirituality or religion. Obviously, that's not true. Most of my videos are about healthy versions of religion and spirituality. Like, I advocate for a healthy version of religion, but healthy version being the key word here, like a new integrally informed version. They also try to say that I'm like a grifter, that I'm just trying to like steal other people's work. When I'm out here explicitly saying I want to do integral, let's call it integral 2.0, let's upgrade this thing, let's make it better, all this kind of stuff. And I'm not asking for any money, I'm not selling anything. I take donations, but I don't have any products. I've made merch for the community to try to make integral fun and cool and something that we could all be proud of and participate in. So I mean, there's just no goodwill in this community. There's no honest communication. There's basically two camps in integral. There's like real reasonable philosophers and this like woo-woo spiritual cult stuff. And these people don't know the theory. They don't want to have philosophical debates. They don't want to have arguments. And when they do, they fail hard. And they're like, you're mean. We aren't really out here having real discussions as philosophers. And this real philosopher integral group, that's just like the people who are currently interested in it because integral theory is a great idea. There's a lot of good stuff about it. But these people, when they come into these groups with all of these green woo-woo people, they just leave. They get tired of it. They won't last. There's no channel for engagement or reintegration or like shadow work or like an ability to engage and work on this stuff together. This community doesn't want to grow. The integral community is super unhealthy. The brand is totally corrupted. I would get really upset. I would go into these communities and see that there's no standards, that there's no leadership, there's no integration process. Basically, anybody can say anything, and it's like a flat land where all opinions are welcome. And I mean, if I join an integral group, I'm joining that group because I want to have discussions with people who are on my level, who understand integral theory and integral standards. And if we disagree, I can appeal to those integral standards. Like, that's a pre-trans fallacy. But these people, they'll use words like pre and trans-rational, but they don't even seem to know what they mean. Just like they'll use the word integral, and they don't even seem to know what it means. So I've tried to work with this stuff. I've tried to clean it up. I've tried to engage. I've tried to offer better maps. This community doesn't want to grow up. The brand is fully corrupted, and to be honest, I'm embarrassed to be associated with it. Yeah, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be associated with this community. I don't really think that there are any good integral groups. None of them are doing anything. They're all just patting themselves on the back for being the smartest people while we accomplish nothing together. And it's tiresome. And it's just like fighting an uphill battle that I will not win, and I'll just be fought against the entire time. So I'm tired of it. I've thought about other things that I could do. Maybe I could try to start an integral Facebook group or whatever that was actually healthy. And I mean, I don't think that it's inherently the case that you need to have strict standards and leadership in a group. But if you're talking about a philosophical worldview and trying to maintain the integrity of a space, you need to have core leaders. You need to have a core membership and some kind of an integration process where the people who are coming into this group who are new, who are learning, can recognize the authority of the core members and the leadership so that way they can actually learn. But we don't have that. There's no core members who are good and healthy. The worst actors have won all the spaces. All the good people who are reasonable and want to do real philosophy will leave these spaces over time. And as a person who's out here talking about integral and trying to spread these ideas and stuff, like I just imagine, I get somebody excited, let's say on YouTube about integral. And then they go on Facebook and they type up integral. And then they go into like integral global or something. And then you see people in there talking about all kinds of woo-woo ideas, talking about horrible things that should not be in our spaces. You know, sexism, racism, Trumpism, they're basically caught up in a bunch of bullshit that are conversations that we should be beyond at this point. When I first started, I felt like I was excited to meet some people who I could connect with, who I thought we had shared values with, who were spiritual people, but they were rational people. And we had good maps, and we cared about helping the world. There was a point at which, I guess it was around the time of the Occupy movement, there was Occupy Integral. And I was excited about this. I was like, heck yeah, Integral's doing something. I'm going to get involved in this. So I got involved in the calls, and out of that, there was this group where we had separate calls, and it was like a separate space, and it was just spinning in circles talking forever. And I was like, why don't we get some stuff going? We should get some stuff going. Interesting, yes. What about you? What do you think? And around in circles we get. I'm like, can we get to some place where like we figure out how to move on and do something, you know, like take a vote or do something? Interesting idea, yes. Pass it around again. This is Integral. Talks and talks and talks, feels so smart but does nothing. I started another group. In reaction to this group, I left that group and I was like, hey, if you guys want to get some stuff done and actually work on something, join this group, the Integral Community of the Adequate. And then we started having calls, and we were going around and we were talking about how to build it together. And I was feeling excited about that because we were making progress. But what I quickly discovered was this group actually isn't adequate, because there's a lot of woo-woo ideas and a lot of people in this community still believe in pre-rational stuff. There's still this problem of idealism, deep rooted in Integral. And a lot of Integralists are Eastern idealists. So I started another group to try to actually make the real community of the adequate, which was the Integral Emergentist revolutionary movement. People who are integral, but also understand the fact of emergentism. People who are interested in actually having a revolutionary movement and trying to do something. These are my people. Over time, that got rebranded as Integral 2.0, and there were a bunch of great leaders in the community who endorsed that movement. There are integralists who want to see Integral move forward. They want to see these ideas achieve their best realization. So that is a thing. It's just that the problem is that we're in the extreme minority. And it's really like a bunch of smart people who are already working on projects, and they're kind of already too busy. They're so busy and serious that they're doing stuff, and they're not engaging in these groups. They're not really involved in the community. They know that Integral needs to be upgraded. They know that it's unhealthy. But again, they're in the extreme minority. I feel like the last video I made about trying to upgrade Integral epistemology is the most high quality video artifact that's ever been made around Integral. But the community doesn't appreciate it. They don't want it. They don't like me. They don't want to change. They don't want to grow. It's a losing battle. Fighting with these people, fighting to make Integral healthy. And it's tiring to me. It makes all my work. It's just like, well, here I go. I'm gonna put out this video that I just put a bunch of work into to try to help these people, to try to help this community, to try to help to get this movement going. And usually when it comes out, it gets nothing but criticism or like hardly any attention. The Integral community doesn't care about epistemology. It's very clear. The Integral community doesn't care about that. They're a bunch of woo-woo spiritual believing cult members, not serious philosophers, not real revolutionaries. These are people who want to feel like they're the wisest people on the planet and do nothing about it. Yeah, so I'm done with it. So what's next? Well, I'm going to rebrand. I'm not sure what the new word is. I've seen Daniel with the metamodernist group, with the metamodern movement, and his groups are corrupted and perverted in the same way. They have the same exact problems that Integral has. And I think part of the problem with that is there were other people using the word metamodern, and so what I've noticed is that people in those groups will say, well, Daniel's not the word, or Hansi's not the main word on what metamodern is. It's a whole big movement, a whole bunch of collection of ideas, and so now we're straight back into the green swamp where anybody can think whatever they want and there's no kind of standards. So I'm not going to join the metamodernist group or the metamodern movement. I'm not going to call it that. Basically, I think we need a new name. I still think we need to have something very much like an integral map. I'm still planning on putting out like a new map that's got upgrades and updates, and it'll be a holistic perspective. I'm still planning on trying to figure out how to build together. But to some extent, I'm going to have to start over and build my own community. People who understand what we're talking about, people who understand what it is and what it's not. And there's going to be a line drawn in the sand. This group currently that we're in has been a space where I've allowed some diversity of opinion so that way we could have chats. And, I still think that diversity of opinion within a group matters because we need to work together and refine together. But if you don't have core members and if you don't have core standards, when we do have disagreements, what do we appeal to? If we're not appealing to those core standards, then we don't have axioms on which to build. We don't have a foundation on which we can work together on a project. Brandon is asking me, have you mapped out what you would like to accomplish in your group? I haven't come out with a new thing. I don't know what the new word is. I don't know what the new brand is. I'm not exactly sure. But what I am sure of is that I don't want to be associated with Integral anymore. It's embarrassing. I find the community embarrassing. I don't want to encourage people to go check out Integral anymore. I'm not sure if that answers your question. What I hope to accomplish is the same thing as I was hoping to accomplish before. I want to create a revolutionary movement to help birth an integral age. Except for now, it won't be called an integral age, it'll be called something else. Basically, it's going to be a new synonym, a new word that's kind of doing the same thing, except for I'm going to try to do it right. And I had said before in the past that when people ask me, David, why don't you start a new thing? My response was, but that's not how philosophy is done. Philosophy is standing on the shoulders of giants and pushing the ball forward. And I still believe that. I still think that's true. But this is not the community. These people are, for the most part, not my peers. They're not interested in working on these projects. They're not interested in pushing the ball forward. They want to be religious, spiritual, believing cult members. So I want to find my real community. I want to find the real community of the adequate. And if other people don't like it, if they don't want to be in that community of the adequate, I'm happy to see them go. Because I would like to find my real community who really wants to work on stuff and build things together. So, if you're watching this and you're an idealist and you believe in some woo-woo stuff and you're in my group, I'm glad to see you go. Please leave the group. Blake says, yeah, they just want to do religion. Seems like it's such a strong pull. Yeah. Yes, go, bye. If you're a woo-woo cult member who wants to believe in some childish BS and take some religious spiritual ideas literally, I don't consider you part of my community. You can go. I'll see you later. Because I'm interested in serious adult philosophers who want to actually work on some stuff and make some progress. So I got to figure out what the new project is going to be. The good news is that over this last 10 years of being in this community and working on these projects, I have honed my skills. I can make some really nice quality videos now. I even have a video production company. So whatever I'm going to do next is going to be super high quality, and instead of just talk to the integral community and try and get the integral community to be upgraded and all this kind of stuff, no. I am going to appeal to a broader audience, and I'm going to try to get other people in the world who understand these ideas, not just the integral community. Of course, if people from the integral community want to come and be a part and still see themselves as integral, and it's just the brand name and the community itself that I think is too far gone to be able to work with it anymore. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with my current YouTube channel. I'm thinking about maybe starting another one and letting it be like the archive and starting over. I'm not exactly sure yet. I do have another talk coming out with Layman Pascal that I'll put out on my channel. It'll probably be my last video on that channel, or my last explicitly integral video. So I'm not exactly sure what's next. I'm going to have to probably take some time and think about it. I'm open to suggestions. If you have ideas about what a new name for the project could be, hit me up, let me know. Post them in the comments. Get at me. Basically, like I said before, the project is the same. The ideas are the same. It's still the integral emergentist revolutionary movement without the word integral, and probably repackaged in some kind of way that will hopefully be as accessible to people as possible. I want it to be something that can actually be taken seriously by reasonable people. Yeah, the long game. I like that. It's like game B, kind of. So This has just been something that's been on my mind and on my heart lately. I started a project some months ago, and I wanted to maybe tell a story of the history of Integral. I made a cool timeline and put everything on it. I was going to do a green screen thing where I talk about the history of Integral and when certain parts of the project came out, and to kind of catch people who were watching my videos up on where we're at with Integral and what we're trying to do with it now, what the new dynamic is. But I'll tell you what I really think about what's going to happen with Integral. Ken Wilber's going to die and the whole thing's going to fizzle out. I originally thought that it was going to be someone like me who carried the torch further and kept representing Integral into the future. But it will not be me, and I don't know of anybody else who's really doing it or even trying, so I think it's not going to last much longer. It's already to the point where a lot of people don't take it seriously. And the more people like me will publicly jump ship and say, fuck the Integral community, more and more people are going to see why. And over time, all the reasonable people leave. There's no place for us in this community. They don't want us. The bad actors have won the space. And everybody who's reasonable and actually wants to get shit done is going to leave. So I'm hoping that if I plant a new flag and start to introduce people to it fresh and build up some hype around that, then we can draw a firm line in the sand. We won't have this problem that meta-modernists have where they can say, oh, there's a bunch of people who represent this brand. And no, it's going to be explicit what it is and what it's not and what we're doing. And maybe then we can actually grow and make some progress. Yeah, Julian says the same stuff. He thinks it's completely infected with magical thinking, just like you say. Yeah, Julian's right. Frank Visser's right, at least on this point. The Integral community is beyond repair. It can't be saved. It is, as Daniel said, Hansi or whatever, it's a poison chalice. It's not going to work. And I understand why he says that too, because he's actually trying to get involved in politics and do stuff, and he can't be associated with Integral. He can't be associated with all this woo-woo BS and magical thinking. So yeah, if we want to be taken seriously, it seems like we got to ditch Integral. I got an Integral 2.0 tattoo. Quadrants and stages are still part of it, but there's going to be an upgraded map, and it's just going to be a tool in the toolbox. It's not going to be the brand. So these factors are all still at play. The tools are all still good, but it's going to be a different brand. And I'm going to basically unsubscribe from every Integral group, and I'm going to not talk to them and not be associated with them. I'm not going to do the uphill battle anymore. I'm even tired of the academics. So tired of these Integral academics who are all basically just using smart-sounding words to justify woo-woo, unfounded ideas. I'm tired of arguing with them. Every one of these Integral professors that I've tried to debate, they're lame. Their arguments are lame, and they don't want to grow. They don't want to make progress. And they don't want it from me. They don't want to see a guy who wears a hat and colorful shirts and has a colorful background be taken seriously when they want to be taken seriously. They want to be the ones who are the official good ones and stuff like this. I'm so tired of this whole community and the lack of respect and appreciation I've got for my work over the years. I feel like I've done a whole bunch of work for a bunch of ungrateful people who don't even care. I'm just tired of it. For a while I thought, I'm saving myself 30 years. Not having to develop a new community. This community, the Integral community, they have the distinctions, they have the maps, they have the knowledge. There's a bunch of them. They're worldwide. We can take this movement, we can take these ideas, we can take these maps and help the world. The Integral community isn't about that. They're too poisoned, their head is too far up their own ass. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen. I'm tired of beating my head up against the wall. I'm starting over. I'm starting fresh. It feels a little bit to me like a breakup. I've been part of this community for over a decade. And it was a big deal to me to be a part of it. It was a big deal to me to find people who were like-minded. But I don't feel like we're like-minded anymore. I don't feel like there's enough people in this community who are actually reasonable philosophers who care about shit. So I think I've made my reasons, at least, pretty clear. I want to make progress. I care about birthing the Integral age. I still care about that. I still want to do that. That's still my life's mission. I have a bunch of ideas and a bunch of projects and a bunch of maps that I still want to share. I'm still going to do that. I'm still going to be out here. I'm still going to be in this group. But yeah, if you're on the old magical thinking Integral thing and that's what you want to do, you can go. No hate, no bitterness towards you or whatever, but you're not a part of my community or my project. I'm trying to actually make some progress out here, and I want to surround myself with like-minded people who care about this stuff. So part of what I wanted to do with Integral 2.0 was to create some kind of an ability to work together to process our ideas, and that was going to be the foundation for those methods of processing tensions and developing some kind of standards by which we can refine our ideas. So that's going to still be one of the major things that we need to work with when we do find a community of the adequate. I do want to do a project where we find people who understand like a sacred naturalism kind of perspective and who want to create a trans-rational new religion, because basically we need a 4-quadrant approach, not just like an upper left quadrant self-help selling stuff to people kind of approach, but we need governance, we need standards, we need methods of processing ideas and refining together. We need a culture, a healthy culture with standards and traditions and practices. And we need initiation systems. And of course, the personal life practice thing. Of course, that's going to be a part of it. But if we don't work on these lower quadrant aspects together, we're not going to have a healthy, holistic movement. We're not going to have a healthy, holistic community. So I'm not exactly sure what my next steps are, but I wanted to get this off my chest and share with you guys where I'm coming from. I hope that you still support me. I want to say a big thanks to all of my Patreon supporters. Big up Bernardo, big up Josh, big up all the people who have helped and supported, even people who are ex-Patreon supporters who have been financially struggling, people who have been in this group for a long time. I appreciate you so much. I got mad love for people in this group, and I know that a lot of y'all are going to stick with me through this transition, and I know some of you have been telling me this is the move that I need to do for a long time. It's not completely starting from scratch. I've developed a lot of good relationships here, and I got a lot of love for a lot of you, so let's keep it going. Let's see what we can do next. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I am sure that it's going to be awesome. And I'm sure that 2, 3, 5 years from now, I'm going to look back on this decision and I'm going to be glad that I made it. It's a little bit daunting to break from a community that you've been a part of for over a decade. It's a little bit daunting to start something new. It's a little bit daunting to think about how I'm going to start this thing over, how I'm going to create a new brand, but I'm going to do it. I think it's what needs to be done if we're actually going to ever be effective and taken seriously. I don't think Integral is effective, and I don't think it's taken seriously. And honestly, at this point, I don't think it should be taken seriously. I got much love for y'all, and I hope that you'll get involved and join me in whatever comes next. Peace.